My hat! Alright, so for this one I'm going to go a little out of order. I've actually already completely assembled the front shocks, so I'm going to be working on the rear. It's the exact same thing, so if you assemble the front, you know how to assemble the rear. There's no difference. So I've already opened the corresponding bags, so I've skipped K for now. I went to L and M. So this is part of the rear assembly. Well, you can't really see everything, but this would be the front. So the front shocks are already assembled. And I have one of the rears over there, just waiting for the rest of the air to come out. So here's the shock body. When you trim the pieces, you want to make sure that you trim them. So when you come from the spur, just trim everything neatly, use some snips. If you break them off, sometimes they will not break evenly, so you don't really want to do that. So grab a blade on a piece of wood, maybe a cutting board, or some snips. But we're going to get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply a little bit of grease to one of my fingers. And the reason why is so that I can lubricate the O-rings. Now, while I'm doing this, there's these little hat-looking things. The small one goes in, but the smaller diameter goes inside. The larger diameter is going to point outward. So you're just going to place it. You can just use a driver to push it in, and then this O-ring can now go in here. I'm using black grease because that's what I have here on hand, but I do prefer to use the green slime, but black grease will work for this, as long as you lubricate the O-ring so that when you run the shaft through it, you don't run it dry, because then it could potentially damage the O-rings. That is the reason why. So right now we'll leave that as is. This black one, so first it was that little hat O-ring, a little plastic washer, and then the other O-ring. Now I'm going to fit this O-ring. This actually goes through the outside, and there's a groove here in the body. You're just going to set it there. There we go. All right. At this point, you can grab this other hat, which is a larger one, and now this time the larger diameter goes toward the inside and the smaller diameter toward the outside. At this point, you can grab this little nut here. This is what holds everything, and I'm going to place it on top, and I always go left first. And then as soon as you hear or feel that click, then start going right and thread in. The reason why I do this is because I don't want to cross thread this. Now I'm not tightening it, this is still loose, and the reason why is as soon as you tighten this, it'll put pressure on the O-rings to create a better seal. So if you tighten before the shaft is in there, it'll be difficult to install the shaft, and you run the risk of damaging the O-rings. Right now I'm just applying some grease onto the shaft. Now there's two ends. The small end, that's where the piston goes. So just install the piston there, and you will have these silver nuts. They're the smaller nuts. Go ahead and just place the top one. Don't worry about tightening it yet. It will tighten later. You just want the nut to be there. And at this point, you're just going to grab this and you're just going to run this through. That is it. Now, this is where you can go ahead and tighten this fully because the shaft is in there. Do not over tighten. You can ruin the threads. I like these being plastic. I've heard people try looking for aluminum ones. I don't know where to find aluminum ones. But the reason why I like these being plastic is on my SET, I've actually taken some really hard impacts, and then these will break. And I know some of you are thinking, wait, why do you want them to break? Because if this breaks, the shaft will be fine. Well, usually. So I have broken these before, but I haven't bent a shaft yet. So this is what's taking the force, and I'd rather replace this than having to replace the shaft, because if the shaft bends, then maybe the piston will bend as well in there. That's the reason why. The other thing too is aluminum tends to bend, so I may have to replace it anyway, even if it's aluminum, but now I have a bent shaft. Alright, so the boot is on, and just going to go ahead and hold this, and I'm going to start threading by hand. I'm not going to get very far because this is going to be slipping from my hand, but as long as I get it started just like that. Now I'm going to push this up, and I'm going to grab a tool that goes in here, and now I'm just going to turn, and this is it. And usually I turn the bottom. So I'm just holding it like this, the nut is in there, so this is pushed in. And just going to start threading. Don't thread all the way because you may catch the boot here in between. So from time to time you may have to just pull it just to make sure that the boot doesn't get caught in here. That's the reason why. So I'm just going to push this again, and I'm going to keep threading. All right, just a little more. You can also use a driver, stick a driver in through here and then spin the driver. That'll make it easier. But to be honest, this is so large, this little bit here, that you can do it by hand. I mean, if you happen to be a 10-year-old doing this, not necessarily a 10-year-old, maybe a 15-year-old, or you simply don't have the strength, or maybe you injured your hand so it hurts, just stick a driver in there. Whatever the reason is, right? That's an easy way. And when you're tightening this, the nut also tightens, as you can see. So you tighten both things at once. But the main thing is you want to make sure that the boot is in there before you put this. If not, you're not going to be able to fit the boot because this is a very small diameter here on the boot, the way it tapers. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this ring on. This is what holds the spring. This is where the spring sits. And notice this little flared edge. That's where the spring sits. So that's going to be toward the bottom. And I'm just going to set it here close, and then I'm going to spin left. I think that was it. As soon as you feel that click, then you can start going right. And I'm going to go all the way to maybe about 4 millimeters from the top. And then once I do that, then I'll fill it with oil. And this uses that 700 oil, CST. I'm not sure what that is in WT rating, I'll be honest. Probably, maybe around a 65, possibly. I'm not sure. But there we go. So once I have this here, I'm going to grab my oil, and I shall just pour some oil in. Which I like this oil weight for it. On my SET, it came with 350. I ended up replacing it. I think I'm running 50, maybe even 55 on mine. All right, now this, according to the instructions, it says to fill up to about 1 to 2 centimeters from the top. I'm filling it really close to the top, and the reason why is I'm just going to push this lightly. Just watch the oil, make sure I don't spill it. But then as soon as I pull it down, there's going to be an air bubble. Now pull it down slowly. If you pull it too fast, that air bubble is going to be released, and then it's going to just squirt a bunch of oil in your face. But there's the bubble. So now it drops. Now I'm going to move it up again. Now it went all the way up. There's a few tiny little air bubbles in there. And then it tells you to do it 3 to 5 times. If you do it 10, doesn't matter. It's just more time that you're going to be spending moving the piston up and down. Alright, so now I'm going to fill it until it's somewhere between 1 and 2. If you go over that, you're just going to be spilling all the oil once you cap it. Now I'm going to set this aside just so it's standing, so any little air bubbles, there's a few, not much, that way they can surface. So I'll move it there, and I'll grab the other one that's been sitting here for a while. Now I'm going to get this little cap here, this little rubber gasket cap, and notice it's concave on one side, convex on the other. That this convex side, this goes toward the oil. So you just seat it here, and then once it's sat, you can grab these little caps. Now these caps, I already pre-drilled them, so you're going to use a small drill bit, and you're going to drill the breather hole. So there's the breather hole. On the SET, there's an option where you can drill here, so if you want to run emulsion, you can. But here, just regular. So this has already been drilled, just any drill bit, but again, make sure it's about the correct size here. So you're looking at about millimeter. You can get away with millimeter 50, but yeah, millimeter is fine. Now again, with the cap, I will be going left. Oh, that was quick. And then I'll go right. And again, the reason why is I do not want to cross thread the cap. Now, some people do complain about Tekno because these caps are plastic. I have never had an issue with one of these, and I jump my SET sky high. Many times I've landed it in concrete, just in parking lots, which is a great way to destroy your vehicle, but there was a ramp, nothing better to do. We weren't racing at the time, so I decided to see what would happen. Durability. I wish I had it on camera, to be honest. There's a lot of little things that I've done like that I now wish somebody had recorded them. But oh well. I'm just bringing this cap close, and then after that, I'm going to be pushing the shaft about 90% in. And I want to hold the shaft, so I'm actually using my pinky finger there to hold it so that it doesn't extend. And I'm just going to screw the cap on. Excess oil will come out, and some air bubbles came out as well. And this is all right. And that is it. So I just wiped the cap, and I'm going to grab one of the springs. I'm going to put the color on top. It doesn't matter. And then I'm pulling on a spring but holding it so that I can put the spring mount here at the bottom. And, oh, that's right, the rear one's, oh my goodness. Yeah, I think we all saw what I forgot to do. That's why it seemed a bit weird that it wasn't fitting properly, so I forgot to put this one on this one. So let's go ahead and do that. Again, left, and I'll start going right. So by the time I'm finished with this one, the other one will be ready. So then I'll just go ahead and do that one. Again, I just did not want to do all 4 shocks on camera. It just takes a while. But this is pretty much all you do. So here we go. But this is coming out, turning out nicely. I really do liking the build. Maybe my friend will trade me this MT for my SET. Yeah, right. But I mean, I would gladly trade, but probably wouldn't. Alright, so this I can move down. And let's see. So maybe I should do about a centimeter, a little over a centimeter. Yeah, that'll work. Alright, here we go. So at this point, now I can use some of this hardware over here. And we have this long set screw right here. That's going to go in here, and it's going to hold the part down here where the spring sits. And I do like these. If you're considering a Tekno, and let's just say you've had a Traxxas Slash, the old GTR shocks did not have them, and sometimes those would just fall off. and then your spring would be hanging off to the side. But the newer GTRs do have them. Alright, so now I'm going to grab one of these little balls, and there's a hole in them. You will notice that's where the screw's going to go through, and these you just press in. So after that, all you do is you grab the little plastic drum, these little guys right over here, and that just presses into the top. You just need your fingers for this, and there it is. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and check this other one out. And I'm going to put just, actually that might be right, but I'd rather have a little too much oil and have it leak out, well, once I'm putting the cap on, than to have too little. Here we go. So that being said, there it is. And go ahead and grab this here just for the excess. And again, this one here already has the bleeder hole drilled out. So I'm going to go ahead and place it. Again, go left. And then you go right. Alright, so before I screw this on all the way, I'm going to go ahead and push this about 90% of the way, hold it, and then I'm going to screw the cap on. Yeah, there was a little more oil than I needed. More of it came out. Alright, so this is pushing out good. I want to clean that. Alright, that feels good. Right, so this time that is on. I'm going to grab the spring, I'm going to put the color up top. And the spring mount, this goes here. And we have that there. Let's go ahead and move this down. And let's see. Where's that grip screw? Well, meanwhile, while I'm looking for it, let me go ahead and install this. So I'm going to do the top. And we will do the bottom. There it is. All right, so we'll put that one up there, this one here, that one there. All right, these are gonna hold the shocks to the arms, shocks to the top, and this goes, there it is. I couldn't see it, it was right there. All right, good. So I'll just place this here, and I'm gonna screw this in, and you just have to screw it in until it's flush on the other side or either side. Do not overdo it, or else it's going to start coming out the other way. You don't want it to come out the other end. But here we go. All right. And we have the two rear ones. So we have the rears and we have the fronts. Now we're going to move to page K, and then after page K, we will be going on to mounting these. So for now, I have the rears. I actually have these backwards, but it's all right. You cannot mistake the front and the rear. There's major difference in length. Here we go. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and open bag K. And bag K holds the transmission, well, transmission mount, I'll call it transmission, along with the braces and the shafts. And I really do like the Tekno shafts. These are aluminum, but they're very, very durable. If you have seen some of my videos with my SC10, this thing actually fell out of my truck. It took a pretty high jump. Pretty sure I have it in video. Very high jump, and then somehow the chassis flexed. My center brace broke. So that's one thing that I've broken from my Teknos is this center brace. They're not too expensive. The only thing is they do come, it's all 3 braces, so then you end up having way too many braces, 2 of them that you really don't need. But that's the only thing that broke. That broke, and then I guess the chassis managed to flex enough to where the shaft just kind of flew out, but it wasn't bent. So I'm surprised I haven't bent one yet, considering the crashes that it has been through. I'm certainly not saying they're indestructible, not at all. I am just saying they're quite durable, especially compared to other vehicles. So these are really worth the investment. Tekno's probably not watching these videos, but if Tekno were, if you ever want to send me just a kit for free, thank you so much. I'd appreciate it. Fine, I'll pay shipping. That's fine. But let's see. Here we go now. All right. Well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the braces off to the side. So I have these here, and I will be working with the transmission. So here's the transmission. So I'm going to start with the aluminum piece, and I'm going to orient this just like in the picture, pointing that way, the long part, toward the bottom, just like this. And the center differential, which is right here, let me just wipe that. The spur gear is going to go toward the aluminum. Here we go, little piece there. And then after that, we're going to grab this other large piece of plastic that goes over here. To be honest, the best thing to do is to just start off with one little piece. So we have these 2 here, and these 2 pieces are mirror images of each other. So they're going to go in opposite directions, and this long flat side is going to go toward the top, the small side is going to go toward the bottom, and then you will notice this little lip here. This little lip goes toward the inside. Therefore, this one will go here, just like that. And then the lip goes toward the inside because it wants to match this right here. Right. Can't really see the black portion. Well, there, you can see it there. And that's the way this goes. So here, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce the screw there. And the screw that goes there should be, here we go. Let me separate these. 2, 3, 4, and 2. It'll be these here. Let me just double check the type of screw. So we have 24. Oh, actually no, it's these over here. So it is the longer ones. These are the 24s. Yep, it's the long ones. And for this, I will be needing some thread lock because I am going into metal. Just dab just a smidge there. And here we go. All right, it's good. I'll go ahead and place this one here. And I'm just gonna get it close. I'm not going to fully tighten it yet. I'm gonna wait until this top portion is on. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and grab this one. And again, that lip goes toward the inside. So we'll go here. And then this one will go out here. And that will go there. And here we go. All right, so that is close. And I shall install this now. And based on the picture, which is not very clear, the T should go this way. So that T portion goes toward the aluminum part. We'll just see right there. And now I can grab, let's see, so it's the short ones go here, and then the long ones go in the back. Short ones go in the plastic. So those go here. So they go into the plastic transmission mount. And then the long ones go toward the back. Which makes sense because they're screwing onto 3 pieces instead of just 2. So let me just guide them in. And then once I do this, I'm going to go ahead and tighten all 6 screws. This is going into aluminum. Let me go ahead. Use some of this thread lock. All right. Almost there. Let's grab the other one. Okay, so now I'm going to do this one. Go to these. And then I'm going to go to these. And then this. And finally the last one. All right, so we have these here. That moves freely. This is good. And now this is actually the right side. So the T is going to go this way. It comes down here once we mount this on. But before we mount this on, I'm going to go ahead and grab the shaft. And I'm going to go ahead and place it in there and then place it in here. And once it is in there, I'm going to go ahead and line this up. And once this is lined up, I will install the screws that are toward the back, and the reason why is that's going into plastic, so I don't have to worry about thread lock at the moment. And let's see, what sizes do I have? 5, all right, these are the ones that go in the rear. So the short ones go in the rear. There we go. And now we have this. All right, now I can deal with the thread lock. I'm just going to place them here and dab a little. Oh no, I don't want to, no, let's do it over here. I don't want to smear the manual. Alright, so I'm just going to guide them all, and then I'll start tightening. And I will start with the center one. Alright, so the transmission is installed. All right, nothing's binding. So far, so good. Now we have the center brace. So again, like I said, this I have broken before on my SC. If this truck had a weak point, it would be that. But then again, it's somewhat unfair to say that it has a weak point and that's it, because I probably shouldn't have been jumping this truck as high as I was. But it was fun doing so. I'm going to do it again. I actually bought a spare just in case. Alright, so it's that one right there. So next time I go out and I take the other one, I'm actually hoping I can just go with my friend and run this next to that short course, that SCT 410.3, and then I can run this. He can run this MT410. See how they do. See how they fare. All right, I believe it's the long ones now for the bottom. 44. Let's see, 44 is actually short. It's these right over here. Before I drive that one all the way in, I'm going to install this other one over here. All right. So here we go. We have our center brace, we have our shaft, transmission's installed, nothing's binding, everything is good up to now. And now we get to work with the rear end of the vehicle. So here's the rear end. The rear end, you will see this square here will just key in there. If you just move this there, it'll be good. But one important thing, do not forget this little center shaft. So I'm going to go ahead and place it in here and then place it there. And now I'm just going to hold, and it's going into plastic, so I do not need to worry about thread lock, because all 4 of them are going into plastic. And it should be 4 identical screws. It'll be these over here. That's where the long ones go. Just going to set the first one, not driving it all the way, and the next one doesn't want to. That's all right. All right, it's close, but it's not fully tight. Let's see, so it's this one and this one. Perfect. All right, great. Alright, now I'm going to start driving them all the way through. And one more. And then I can do the rear brace. All right, there it is. So now the rear brace. The rear brace should go on the right side. Let me look at the picture. It goes on the left side. All right, well, apparently it goes on the right side. Left side, I mean. All right, so I'll install this top one. And then after this, I can go ahead and just mount all 4 shocks. So I'll have the front dampers first, and then after the front dampers, I can do the rear dampers. All right. Here we go. So now we can move on to back to bag L, and we're here at the bottom. So we will be doing the dampers on the front. And here we go. We have these here. We also have the tower. Now this actually just goes over the aluminum tower, and it goes through the rear just like this, and then you're going to use the shorter of the screws, and that just goes toward the center. This plastic part here, this is what's going to hold your body mounts. And one of the things that I do like about Tekno using this plastic piece on top of the aluminum is this plastic piece is flexible, so when you roll or hit body first, I mean body absorbed a lot of the impact, but this allows for some flexibility, so it just protects the aluminum shock tower. I'm not sure if they make carbon fiber towers. Do not replace aluminum with carbon fiber for the sake of weight. It weighs about the same. But let's see. Now we're going to grab these. Now there's an end that's a lot thicker or wider. This one here, this is going to go up against the tower. Now the position that I'm going to go with is I'm going to go all the way to the outside. And the reason why I'm going all the way to the outside is my friend's going to send this sky high. So I'm going to just try to have the shocks as vertical as possible. That's the reason why, if he was planning on turning this into maybe a race monster truck, he may do something else, but I know he's going to send it sky high. So the more vertical, the better. As vertical as possible. All right, and now we're going to install the other side. Again, I'm going to the very top, and then I'll just place this nut here. And one of the things to note too is they key in right in here, right? So you just need to keep it there and it will not spin. All right, that's it for that. So now all I have to do is just place the shocks. Now I like placing this outward on each one, so this will go in here, and then you grab one of the smaller nuts and those will go in there. And these here, I think I'm gonna have to use this tool. Yes, just smaller diameter, not a big deal, but There we go. All right, so that is there. And again, snug, you do not need to over tighten anything. Snug is good. All right. We have that. All right, now I can do the bottom. And like I said, because I know he's going to send it sky high, I'm just going to go with full suspension travel. So shocks are going to be all the way to the inside. And why am I not managing? There. Then later on, he can adjust these, move them out. If you take really high jumps, and you just make your RC fly up, and your dampers are laying down further, you run the risk of bending the shafts. That's why you want them as straight as possible. And part of the reason why is, let's just say you have your dampers like this, and this hits. Well, this needs to compress. But you have a greater force going this way because there's more space here. So if you imagine triangles, right? Or sine and cosine, whatever, imagine triangles. The leg that is the longest is the one that's going to absorb more force. So if you lay them down too much, this leg here is the shorter one. It's going to take less force. Most of the force is going to go here, so it'll be lateral force. So you will bend this instead of it compressing in. So a shock that's like this will more than likely just compress in, and there's a lot of travel too. But the more you lay it down, you're decreasing the rate of travel. Think of how you're changing the triangle. And then you're also applying more stress here, right where the shaft enters the body, and you can ruin a lot of the shafts on shocks. So this one, like I said, I already know this thing's going to go as high as it can, or I should say my buddy will send it as high as possible. So let's go ahead and just do it this way. Which is another good thing that it has that heavier 700 oil. Again, I don't know the conversion, might be 60, 65 weight, not sure. Because the you need heavier oil to dampen, especially on a vehicle like this. This thing fully dressed will probably be over 3 kilos. Wonderful. All right, now for the rear. Rear, again, similar process. We have this. So for the rear, this should go this way, and I'm not on the correct page. So let me just turn the page so I can verify. Oh, no, I'm not. Here it is. And yes, I am right. I'm always right, unless I'm wrong. But here we go. Right, on the bleeder caps, well, the bleeder hole on the shock caps, I said to drill a hole that's about 1 millimeter. Okay, according to the instructions, says 1 to 2 millimeters. So about 1 millimeter is correct. All right, so now we're going to do the same thing. And again, I know this thing's going to fly to the moon. Not literally to the moon. It's just an expression. Where's my 7? There it is. So I'm just going to stand the dampers all the way. Now again, this is for my buddy Rod. You can follow him on Instagram at Rod's Reels RCs. So that's RODREELSRCS. So you can follow him on Instagram. He's got some really cool things. He's got some really cool crawling videos. So I do recommend that you follow him. And please do let him know that I sent you. All right, here we go. So again, these to the outer part, that goes in there. Go ahead and place this nut, and I'm almost finished with the install. So hopefully you're watching these videos and you're interested in building one of these, or you're watching these videos as you build your own. But like I said, pretty straightforward. So far I've not had a single issue with the manual, and I hope it stays this way. My other Tekno builds, I've never had an issue with the manual. Like I keep saying, they are probably one of the best when it comes to organizing the information in their build manuals. Tamiya, you're a disaster. Do you like your vehicles though? You're still a disaster when it comes to the manuals. As of this video. Right. Alright, and there we go. So rear suspension is good to go. That's a lot of travel. And the front one as well. And I'm going to go ahead and spin my transmission just to make sure that everything goes the correct direction. Alright, everything's going forward, everything's going reverse. Alright, so everything is good to go. So now, I'll catch you on the next one. We're going to start bag N.